Big round of applause for a very special guest. We have writer, director, Jac Cron. And producer, Lizzy Shapiro. But thank you so much for being here. It's a very special experience. We got a packed house. First off, I just want to start off with, I think the central thing is you have the three characters, right, of the movie. And the whole movie's a vibe. It's a feeling, it's whether it's sadness or hope or connection, but at the same time, it's all about their chemistry. Did you have them interacting with each other, auditioning together? How did the whole casting process come together?
I did not have them do a chemistry read, which I know is something that a lot of people do before having the movie cast, but I think I tried to take each character and relate them to people I knew in my life, and tried to think about how those people I knew would interact together, and just kind of looked at each of the people that I had, who they were as actors, and then the characters that I thought that they would bring to life, and kind of just, I guess, crossed my fingers, and they had a lot of chemistry.
Cool. And why Chestnut Street in particular? I mentioned in the intro that I have an extensive restaurant background. I did stuff for that. It's on.
Oh, great. You want it to be louder?
Yeah.
Extensive restaurant background. I worked in the industry for 15 years. And why Chestnut Street in particular? Was that where you had a kind of a history or a past with those bars, going out after like restaurant shifts?
Yeah, I think obviously Chestnut Street is a large street in Philly. I lived on Chestnut Street when I was in college, and I think I spent a lot of time after college around that area, the neighborhood. So Chestnut Street is obviously runs right through that, and I just always find myself out on restaurants and bars around there, and yeah.
Are they still there? There's been a big change over the past couple years.
Yeah, it's been funny, like coming back and seeing which ones are there and which ones aren't. A lot of them are.
Cool. And then real quick before opening it up, Lizzy, producer can mean a lot of different things in the movie biz. Can you talk about where you came in on the project, what your role was? Because there's so many different, jobs you could possibly do.
Yeah, I came in on the project when Jac sent me the script. We were introduced by a mutual friend, and I read the movie and immediately felt very connected to the sort of transient period in her life that Annie is in. I think that's like a pretty universal experience. We all have sort of like some sort of like listless time in our life where we like feel like we're on the cusp of everything starting, but like aren't quite at that moment yet. And I also had spent time in Philadelphia. My brother went to school here, so I had like a love for the city and just thought it was such like a beautiful story. And we did like a little bit of development on the script, but it was honestly pretty much most of the way there when you sent it to me. And sort of immediately started running into like financing and filling out the rest of the cast and getting our location set up in Philadelphia. We spent a whole summer here in Philly in 2021 of the pandemic, which was so fun. But like this project came to me in such an ideal space because you kind of like get things at all different periods as a producer. But it's so nice when you come into something that someone's already put a lot of thought and a lot of work into, because it just allows you to build upon all of the great things they've already put together.
Yeah, I also mentioned in the intro, Natalia came to the bar I managed and worked at a lot. I don't know if you guys might have been there. Martha, up in Fishtown. She came there with her group and then her boyfriend once or twice.
Yeah. Dude, where is that bar? Which one?
Frankfurt in York? Like up in
Yes.
Fishtown?
The one where we all went out that night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. We have
You
been
don't
there.
remember.
We all went out that night.
We
It was
do
good time.
especially love Fishtown because
Yeah.
we stayed in Fishtown while we were making the movie, and we ate like so much pizza and like Soraya and all like good things
Cool.
in that area.
Yeah.
Any questions at the moment? Right over here?
Yes, the owner of the bar and the restaurant, the other establishments,
used in the movie, where they were filmed, the owners readily give their consent?
I'll take.
Yes, the owners all gave their consent to us shooting there. We closed down the bars when we shot there. So we would shoot, most of the bar scenes are shot during the daytime, and we've like blacked out the windows, and we're shooting on their off hours, and then we filled out the
So even
people.
though it took place at night, it was shot in the daytime?
Yes, most of this movie is actually literally shot in the day.
Yeah.
It
Except
takes
for
place mostly
outside.
at night.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Anybody else at the moment? Yeah, right over there.
Yeah, she went to the train station, and then she was driving a car. That confused me.
Yes.
Do you call that continuity?
Not so much continuity. I think in the story, like her dad lives, not too far, train ride from New York, and I think in the train station it was her decision whether or not to go home and visit her dad versus like her leaving
Oh, okay.
the place.
So it was, well, okay, I got it. I got it. Thanks.
That's okay.
Right over there.
Hi, I love the film. I really like the musical score in the film, and I was wondering what your process was like working with the composer and how you sort of crafted the score together for the film.
Yeah, our composer Keegan DeWitt is amazing. He scored a lot of amazing movies that I loved, and I created like a set of songs and things before the movie was shooting, and one of his songs was on there. And again, mutual friend reached out, and I sent him the soundtrack like of the songs I was thinking of, and he loved them. These are also like small and obscure. I haven't heard of a lot of them, and we kind of based the score around what other songs were gonna be, like what soundtrack songs were gonna be in it, and it was my biggest like keywords were like, nostalgic and just kind of like that summer like vibe, heat, nightlife, and so we kind of wanted to not only like complement it but contrast it with like kind of lighter like piano, little arias, so it made it feel lighter in certain moments and heavier to match the darker tones in the nighttime.
Yeah, and during those kinds of scenes, can you expand upon how do you capture that tone on set and make sure it's appropriately like done on like screen and on camera? Because I found that there's a lot of combating vibes in the film. There's a lot of this kind of sexual chargedness, but at the same time there's almost like a sad, like they're almost already jaded from the world. But how do you capture that and set the tone for the shoot?
I mean, I think it's talking to every department head, talking to my cinematographer beforehand about what other types of movies we wanted to emulate that were similar vibes. Talk to my production designer, and just kind of like trying to figure out how to build this world using all of the different elements that we could. I think a lot of the close-up shots that we used in the movie were really, I think, driving those more intimate, kind of nighttime heated moments that you were talking about. So we really wanted to focus on like nuance and portraiture that helps that.
I think also like we were all like this movie was made by a number of young people who are pretty close to the age of the protagonist. So while we're making this movie about people having like a summer going out in Philadelphia, we were also having a summer going out in Philadelphia. So it really helps sort of inform your vibe on set when you're like going out, going to set, going out on set, going out then again after set. So it was kind of this sort of like cycle of all of us just like also being young and like making something we were passionate about.
In the back?
I know you said you wrote this kind of based off of people that you knew in your own life. Did you write it also with Natalia in mind, or how did you kind of get her on board as the lead?
Yeah, I didn't write it with her in mind. I didn't write any actor in mind in particular. But when I met Rachel Keller, we did a short film together and became fast friends. And Rachel and Natalia share an agent, and sometimes that's how it works. And she introduced me to her, and we just kind of hit it off. And just the character kind of reminded me of her and vice versa. And I was like, I just think this is a perfect fit. And we just had really good, conversations, and I think just we worked really well together. So I think that was kind of the media vibe.
Anybody else? Avery?
I have two questions. One's a little silly, but the nail polish on this, what was that like a character development thing? Like just to show that she had a sense of whimsy even though she was going into finance, or was there?
To be honest, that was just her nail polish.
No way!
Yeah, she just came and she was like, "Do you want me to take it off?" And I was like, "No, I like it. It's like something. It's personality, and I think you want to bring as much of the actor's own personality to make the character feel full and full of life. And I think she really did emulate this person that I wrote, and I was like, I believe that this person would have that nail polish, even if you have a more rigid sense of study, of what you're trying to accomplish. I think it's also a personality thing.
That's interesting.
She also showed up with bangs. We didn't know she had bangs either. That was another plot twist.
Yeah. And if you notice her friend in the movie too, he also has the same nail polish. He also had that.
I noticed that.
Set with that
Yeah.
nail polish, same nail polish. And we were just
Hey guys.
okay, best friends. Yeah, that works.
But then this is your feature debut, right?
Yes.
So I was just wondering, what did you learn about your directing style from this?
That's a really good question. I think mostly how much I wanted to focus on showing emotion in everything that I did. I just wanted to focus on how everyone was feeling and what the characters were going through in their emotional arcs, whether that was showing that through the cinematography, or showing that through the music, or showing that through what they said or what they didn't say. And yeah, I think that was kind of figuring out that as my main focus. And stylistically things change as you get older and grow and your tastes change. But I think that is always going to be my main focus.
It's a good first debut. Yeah.
Anybody
Thank
else?
you.
Right back there.
The film ends with Annie kind of driving off, and she has what seems to be kind of this cathartic moment as she's pulling away. And I wonder if you kind of pull back even further, and Annie, 5 years, 10 years down the road, how does she look back on this period of her life?
I think I can imagine that she would look back with good humor about it. And I think it's one of those things where things feel so big when you're going through it, and it's the end of the world, and if this is a make or break moment for me, and you're I'm gonna remember this forever, and this is gonna impact the rest of my life. And then you 5-10 years down the line, you're oh yeah, that's over. That was funny. And those people, and I never think about them, but then randomly something will remind you of it. And yeah, I think that's just kind of where nostalgia lies. It's okay, that thing that happened to me that was so important to me at one time, but then life moves on and bigger things happen, and the ball keeps rolling.
And then finally, before we get out of here, what's the future of the film?
Right now we're playing a slew of festivals all around the world, which is so lovely. The film's been largely well received. And then we'll be releasing in the spring of next year. I can't announce with who yet, but looking at spring. I cannot yet. Soon. But yeah, spring of next year it should be widely available.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you.